Hammerhead, Jefferson Davis, Robbie Robertson, and the mystery villain could all be characters that Tramell Tillman is going to be playing in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Well, who is it? Let's discuss all the possibilities. So if you guys weren't aware, Tramell Tillman has been cast in Spider-Man Brand New Day. The role that he's currently best known for is actually on Severance, starring Adam Scott. Personally, I think he's a fantastic actor, and he's criminally underrated currently in the industry. And I do think his role in Brand New Day will be pretty significant. You don't hire an actor like Tramell Tillman and don't give him a cool role. When the first report came out about his involvement in Spider-Man Brand New Day, of course industry insiders took to places like X and Reddit and everywhere, Patreon, wherever it may be, saying on how they think they've got the inside scoop on who Tillman is playing. At first, pretty much across the board, everyone was in agreement that Tillman apparently will be playing a villain in the movie. And this immediately made fans jump onto the idea of him playing Tombstone. Now, Tombstone has been rumored to be in this movie quite a lot over the past couple of months, especially from insiders like Daniel RPK. We also know, according to Kevin Feige, this movie will be grounded, so obviously Tombstone would be the perfect villain to explore in a grounded Spider-Man movie. And especially with all the Daredevil and Kingpin stuff going on in the MCU right now, Tombstone would be a major player in that if he was to be involved. However, it was then revealed by insiders that apparently his character is not Tombstone. And because of this, loads of names were thrown around on who he could be playing. For example, characters like Boomerang, Tarantula were other names that were thrown around the pot. It's also worth mentioning that these are also names that have been rumored to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Another character that was actually rumored for him to be playing was, of course, Hammerhead, which also lent off the same idea that this might be a grounded Spider-Man story that explores sort of the Magia underground crime world of New York City. So Hammerhead would also make a lot of sense. Some fans have suggested that he might be playing the Prowler, not the Aaron Davis version, but in fact the Hobie Brown version, which was the original version of the Prowler character before Aaron Davis became sort of the mainstream version of the Prowler. However, personally, I don't really see this. If they are going to be doing the Prowler in the MCU, I do think it will be Aaron Davis, because I do believe that after they sort of end Peter Parker's story in the MCU, they will end up doing Miles Morales at some point down the line. And of course, Prowler is a massive part of Miles' story, so they won't want to do the Prowler now. They probably would want to wait. Also, by the way, Donald Glover is already Aaron Davis as well, so, you know, I don't think there's any point of him being the Prowler. That one, I think, for me, is 100% off the cards. However, by far, one of my favorite theories about who he could be playing was Norman Osborn. Now, we know that off the back of Spider-Man No Way Home, a lot of fans put their thoughts online that they would love to see the MCU's version of Norman Osborn show up in the College Trilogy. Peter's story in the College Trilogy could lean off the idea of him trying to sort of stop Norman Osborn from becoming the Green Goblin, but his actions in trying to stop him actually sort of forces him to become the Green Goblin. Sort of like a reverse psychology sort of story between Peter and the MCU's version of Norman, because Peter is of course scared of what the Green Goblin could do again if Norman ends up becoming the Green Goblin. Like, for example, Goblin killed Aunt May in Spider-Man No Way Home, and Peter has already lost a lot, so he wouldn't want Norman to become the Goblin again. And thus it would be Peter's actions that would have Norman sort of slowly become the Green Goblin in the MCU, which would be a really cool story. However, I also don't see this because we are way too fresh off the back of Spider-Man No Way Home. The Green Goblin and Norman Osborn story has been done to death, even in the movies now, so I don't think they'll do Green Goblin again. However, that doesn't mean all the goblins are off the table. That's right, I think the mystery villain that he could potentially be playing, or maybe even set up to be playing in one of the future movies, could actually be Hobgoblin. Of course, people will jump at that at first and say, well, isn't Ned Leeds meant to become the Hobgoblin at some point? Well, yes, that could still happen, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute, but I'm talking about the Roderick Kingsley version of the Hobgoblin. I think this is the perfect middle ground, because I think this could be a personalized story to this version of Peter Parker, one that's not from a different universe. It's a cool twist on the Goblin story without being the Green Goblin. And in a way, Willem Dafoe's version of of the Goblin could actually have inspired Roderick Kingsley and set him off on the path to becoming the Hobgoblin. So there still can be ties between the two, except this is a brand new and fresh character, and we're not just retreading Norman Osborn again. And I do think Tillman would kill the role of Roderick Kingsley as well. And then, not to mention, if they do want to do the Ned Leeds story, they could also rope Ned into this as well. And with Peter's arc in Brand New Day probably revolving around the idea that he doesn't want to lose anyone else, that would also be really, really awesome. So my main out there shout on who I think Tillman could be playing is actually Roderick Kingsley. I think that would be absolutely awesome. However, if the reports from insiders aren't true that he is playing a villain, who else could Tillman be playing in Spider-Man Brand New Day? Once again, many fans jumped on the idea that Tillman could be playing Jefferson Davis. However, this fan theory didn't come without any backing, because Liza Colin-Zayas, an actress who has also been cast in Spider-Man Brand New Day, has had reports linking her to the character of Rio Morales. So Jefferson also showing up in this movie wouldn't be so far out of the question. It's also worth mentioning that Miles Morales has actually been rumored to be showing up in Spider-Man Brand New Day. But those rumors and reports about Miles showing up in this movie are really, really old. They came out sort of along the lines of 2 to 3 years ago, just after Spider-Man No Way Home. It was when this movie was really early in production, so the chances of Miles actually showing up are probably very slim. Sony have also confirmed as well that they kind of want to leave Miles away from the live action stuff until they've finished Beyond the Spider-Verse. So having Miles in this movie wouldn't make a lot of sense, but Jefferson Davis and Rio Morales could very much work. However, Jefferson Davis isn't the only character he could be playing. He could also be playing a character like Robbie Robertson. We also know the Daily Bugle might be a massive part of Spider-Man Brand New Day, and with, of course, Peter living on his own now and having to pay for his own rent, it would make sense if he got a job at the Daily Bugle, just like in the comics. And if we're going to see more of the Daily Bugle, and if the Daily Bugle becomes a bigger organization with more employees, of course we're going to end up at some point seeing Robbie Robertson alongside J.K. Simmons' version of J. Jonah Jameson from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But those are the main characters that Tramell Tillman could be playing in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Personally, I've got my money on him being Roderick Kingsley, or at least I hope he plays Roderick Kingsley, because I think that would be absolutely awesome. Tell me in the comments what you think. Who do you think Tramell Tillman could be playing in Spider-Man Brand New Day? And also make sure to subscribe to the channel to not miss anything Spider-Man Brand New Day related. We're going to be posting all of the news and everything on this channel, so if you want to stay up to date with absolutely everything when anything drops, make sure to subscribe. We're also so close to 30,000 subscribers. Let's push for that goal in the next month. I know we can do it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.